Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Good Friends Better Rivals. Here, part of the Let's Get Ready Network. This is the Stepback, our NBA show. I'm not usually here,
Mhm.
filling in again for Shug. He should hopefully be back next month. He's got some stuff going on right now, but Josh is here. Josh is usually here. Josh, how you doing tonight?
Doing good. We got a very jam-packed show with all the trade deadline stuff. I'm not even sure if we'll get into another non-trade related topic, but we'll see how this show goes. And I'm very excited with the people we've got on today.
Yeah, and joining us on the show today is Greg from Spurs versus Everybody. Go check out that channel if you're a fan of the Spurs because it's really great. Greg, how you doing?
Oh, good, good. Can't wait to talk some NBA trades. This was big, like a lot of movement this year. I think it was like the most we've seen like ever. It was broke record. So I'm super excited to be with y'all. Talk it. So let's get it.
All right. Yeah, there were a lot of trades. A lot of trades.
Yeah.
Let's start with the first one. The Cavs made some moves. They added James Harden. They traded away Hunter and Garland. Josh, what are you feeling about this?
Absolutely, it's interesting because the Cavs are in a place where they have to win in the playoffs. And on first glance, when you have to win in the playoffs, trading for James Harden hasn't worked out or had the best track record. But in
Hmm.
the end, Garland's been extremely injured. And Harden has been having a very good statistical season on a disappointing Clippers team that has been going on a run before they traded him.
Hmm.
So I understand this move. I'm skeptical of the long term work when you're giving up a young player like Garland, even with his injury issues, especially with Harden's playoff history. But overall, I do understand it, and the Cavs can't keep treading water, bringing out the same Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland punch when they're both not smaller guards defensively. That's very tough to win and make a playoff run when you have two small guards as two of your centerpieces. Harden's a lot of things, but he's not small. He's a biggerish guard. So hopefully the idea is you don't have to rely on him for the playoff performance because Donovan Mitchell is there and he's going to be the number one option. You have a lot of defense with Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. And with James Harden, he just needs to facilitate the offense and be a great passer and maybe once a series give you that A plus Harden performance that can lead you in an East that is very gettable. And the Cavs are probably looking at this like this is our chance. Next year, Halliburton's going to be back. Might be back this year, but he won't be 100% healthy like he is next year. Like, if we want to push our chips and go all in, we have to do that, even if we're doing a bit risky move, giving up a young asset and going for a player with a very questionable history when it comes to winning.
Greg, what do you think?
Nah, I mean, I felt like the Cavs felt like they needed a shakeup. I think the team had run its course. Like you mentioned, the small backcourt wasn't feasible. Garland's injury history and like his playoff performances kind of were questionable. So they needed a shakeup. Obviously, Harden gives you a bigger body that you can kind of hide. Like it's almost like a Luca Kyrie situation where you have a bigger guard that you can kind of hide on different players. You can't really hide the smaller guards together because it causes friction. So I think they got rid of Hunter because they have Jalen Tyson who's stepping into. He's gonna have step up. They've always needed a wing, and Jalen Tyson looks like he could be somebody that could step into that role, but he's gonna have to prove it on the defensive end too. So it's going to be a big showcase for him going forward. And you just got to go after it. I mean, you got to go all in on it. I think they made another trade that really helped them. I really loved that they made in getting Keon Ellis to help bolster the point of attack defense for them. So I think they shook it up as much as they could and kind of like pivoted. They're going to start pivoting. I think eventually they'll get off of Allen, but right now Allen and Harden will have a good combination in the pick and roll. So you just got to try something. I mean, it was just you were just fading. You weren't even felt like a contender this year. So they just felt like they had to make a move, and then that's what they made.
Absolutely. You make a great point about Keon Ellis. Keon Ellis is going to be, we always talk about the starting five and their impact,
Yeah,
but you do need people to come off the bench. And when Harden or Mitchell aren't on the court, Keon Ellis is a very, very good replacement. It is a shame they gave up DeAndre Hunter. I thought that would have been the final piece for them last year. When they were the one seed, they got DeAndre Hunter. Yeah, I thought that was their chance, and
yeah.
Hunter has been disappointing for the Cavs, and we're talking about the Cavs a lot. Let me quickly switch it to the other teams in this trade. Which, first off, I don't know what the Kings are doing. I just flat out do not know. You would think they would want draft capital. I don't really understand the point of getting DeAndre Hunter if you're the Kings. I don't think. I mean, maybe they're trying to be like, oh, he's going to get more minutes, he's going to get more stats on a bad team, and then we can flip
Yeah.
him better next year. Is maybe the concept, but like DeAndre Hunter's already 28 years old. I don't think he fits your current timeline. I don't 100% get it. And then with the Clippers, I think the Clippers, even though Harden's playing very well, I think Garland's maybe as good as you can get for Harden at this point of his career because not only do you have to trade a player that's known to blow up locker rooms, that's known to choke in the playoffs, you're also going to have to give that player a contract. Like Harden's going to part of the reason they made this trade is because Clippers were not willing to commit to Harden long term.
Yeah.
And now the Cavs are now in an uncomfortable situation where they might have to commit to Harden long term, or you just gave up Darius Garland for nothing. However, this might also showcase what the Cavs view of Darius Garland and or how lowly they view him based on the injuries.
No, definitely for the Kings, I think they underestimated probably how much Harrison Barnes meant to that team as like a not really a great defender, but more of a, just a floor spacer, you get a bucket kind of guy. So I think they try to fill that role with DeAndre Hunter, and it's just
I
it's
guess,
a
but what's the point at this point? You literally
or
fighting for the worst pick in the league.
you're just trying to try things. At this point, you're trying to fix holes. The less holes you can fix through free agency or trades, then you can kind of get to the big stuff with also obviously trades, but you can also get the draft. It's like you can draft the guys around them. I think it's more the model now is like try to kind of create the outside stuff for the team, and then plug in the stars through the draft and possibly free trading. So I think that's what they were thinking. The Keon Ellis thing will always be puzzling. I don't know why like you don't put him next to Fox. Like you can see the Spurs have Stephon Castle, who's a great point of attack defender. That's his role, and so it fits. It's supposed to fit like that. I don't know why they never use Keon Ellis. I don't know. That will always baffle me the way they handle that situation. But a new GM came in. They drafted their guy Nick Clifford. They obviously want to move in a totally new direction with new players and stuff like that. So that's the vision of their GM. So they're probably gonna mess it up because it's the Kings. But
I
that's the way the GM wants to go.
I guess, but like the GM is someone I'm very familiar with. The GM, I
But
believe his name is Scott Perry, which
yeah,
is a former Knicks GM, and I don't have a lot of kind things to say about Scott Perry during my time
yeah.
during his time as a Knicks GM. So I'll leave it at that. But I just truly think the Kings are going in a horrendous direction.
And the Clippers, man, that I'm surprised that they were able to get Garland and we'll talk about another trade probably Ben Mathurin in the deals. Like if Garland can stay healthy, like he's like Chris Paul, like offensively, like he's like really shifty, really good shooter. Like he's that level of passer too. Like he's not defensively. Chris Paul was more stout and able to negate some of his inabilities being small that Garland really hasn't been able to do. But like that's a really good prospect player to put in your along with Ben Mathurin, who I think has the potential to be a 20-point scorer in this league. Defensively, he's going to have to get more into it. He should be a better defender than he is, and that's something he's going to have to work on. But for the Clippers to out of this whole mess to be able to get two young guys with that potential, I mean, I think that's a win for them.
I 100% agree. And like the best case scenario for Garland, and this is going to sound insane because he's not going to be this player, but a lot of people forget Steph Curry early in his career suffered a lot of injuries.
Yeah,
And then the Warriors were very smart to be like, okay, we're going to resign you, but at a contract that's going to take into account for the injuries because obviously you haven't proven you can stay healthy. And then the minute he's able to stay healthy, they go on this dynasty run almost, and they explode, and they're able to almost get Kevin Durant because of that contract that they gave Steph Curry early on, I believe, if I'm remembering my NBA history correctly. If everything works out for the Clippers, I agree with every move they made this deadline, and we'll talk about the Zubac trade and the fact that they got draft picks and Mathurin.
yeah,
I think it's absolutely huge. And the Clippers needed to get younger.
yeah.
They were the oldest team by a mile, and when you're the oldest team by the mile and you're fighting for a play-in spot, it just doesn't make sense in any sense. There's no path forward for the next couple of years. At least now you have Garland, you have Mathurin, you have places you can possibly build, which is very promising.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, just to recap, that Zubac trade was the Pacers getting Zubac and Kobe Brown, and the Clippers getting Mathurin, Isaiah Jackson, 2 first-round picks, and a second-round pick.
So you
That's
get
Absolutely.
pretty good
possibly
business for the Clippers.
no, you get potentially your two guard of the future. You get a bouncy big and Isaiah Jackson. You figure out what he is, and then you got draft capital, which you didn't have. I mean, there's a bunch of pick swaps and a bunch of first rounders owed to probably like I think like 2030 probably. So like you get something to work with at least. And I imagine they'll have to pick off uh get off Kawhi. I don't know what they're gonna do with Kawhi to be honest with you. I think you have to maximize his value somehow and figure out what you're gonna do.
I think the best case scenario if you're the Clippers with Kawhi is the idea that like you maybe sneak into the 7 or 8 seed
Yeah.
and Kawhi has an awesome playoffs. Maybe even steal a series against one of the top 3 seeds just because Kawhi has a monster series, because you have a lot of veterans there. I don't believe it because I don't think the Clippers have a winning culture, especially after the Chris Paul and the way he exited and the way he spoke on that team. Chris Paul, by the way, in this trade deadline is now a Raptor. I think that'll be very interesting for the Raptors. Quickly hitting the other side of this trade, the Pacers getting Zubac. I think a lot of people will be confused about them giving first round picks for a center who, when they're one of the worst teams in the NBA right now. But in my opinion, I think what makes more sense for them is because they know they're getting Halliburton back next year, and they know they need a center
Yeah.
because after Miles Turner left, there was no kind of succession for
Yeah.
Miles Turner that has worked out for them. Zubac is a really good player, and going into the next season, if you have Halliburton, you have Zubac, you have Pascal Siakam, you have Aaron Nesmith
Mhm.
and Andrew Nemhart. That's a very dangerous team, in my opinion. And they there was they had much more avenues to find a Benedict Mathurin replacement than they did have a center of Zubac's level. So it might even though it doesn't make sense 100% for this season, I think we're going to talk about this over and over. A lot of the moves made this season is not for this season. It's for
Yeah.
next season.
Yeah. Yeah, getting Zubac, I mean, screen center, hard rebounder, just a really good player. Like this is probably the best defensive center they had. You know, Miles Turner was probably like a fake defender, really, but he did the job. But it's gonna be interesting because they're gonna shift. Even when they had Jay Huff now, they're gonna shift to more of a less floor spacing center. So it's gonna because with Miles Turner and Jay Huff, they're able to get Pascal in the post more and have more space to operate down there. So now they can still create space and you're gonna have to watch their spacing. But it's gonna be interesting. That's probably their best rim protector. So it's definitely like an upgrade for them. They just a spot they needed, and they weren't gonna keep Latham long term because just money wise, they needed to clear out some books and probably have to look forward to maybe even making bigger trades down the line, depending on what they need. But it was a good pickup for them for sure.
Absolutely. And when you hear like, oh, they're not going to have as much floor spacing, that's immediately like, oh, will
Yeah,
the offense not be as explosive? I do think they have so many good offensive pieces that
yeah,
like I'm okay with giving up a little offense to have a defensive
and,
center. I think especially it's like it's not like they have. I think the issue becomes when you have 2 to 3 non floor spacers.
yeah,
Like having one is you can definitely play around in the NBA versus if you have a couple people who are making the spacing tough, that's when it becomes difficult. But when you have one person, I think it's very, especially when it's the center, I think it's very easy to fix, especially when you have him setting picks and coming up and setting
yeah.
space that way.
No, definitely. Pascal's a capable shooter. I think it'll help in the transition game because Zubac will be able to defend the rim and rebound, and that will fuel the transition game. Halliburton, Pascal, Naismith are all pretty athletic finishers and shooters in the transition. I think it'll help their transition game. So,
All right, let's move on to another trade. JJJ to the Jazz.
ooh,
I don't like this. I don't like these trades into my team's area of the NBA landscape. But yeah, JJJ to the Jazz. Greg, what do you think?
super surprised. I didn't see this one coming at all. Makes sense to them because they drafted Taylor Hendricks, whose player comp was kind of a JJJ light. So it makes sense that they would. He kind of after the gruesome injury, he was just never this. I don't think he's ever going to be the same. I don't know if he was going to even reach that level, but so they get JJJ in there and combine it with, I don't know. I hope they combine it with Walker Kessler because that's a really dynamic rim protecting 4 and 5. Like that's a pretty dominating 4 and 5 situation, and they're gonna be able to go super big with Laurie Marketing at the three. If it doesn't work out, then they can easily slide Ace Bailey to the three and then draft whatever they draft this year or whatever they want to draft. Long term, they could fit it in, trade Laurie Marketing for a bunch of picks.
What's up, Jay?
I think it's just good business. It's good. Like it's. I think Keontae George's ascension into like all star level player is definitely triggered them to think, hey, let's be aggressive. Let's go ahead and make something happen and start building the correct way. Because and so they sneakily got Vince Williams, who's also going to help their defensive. That's the biggest thing is they needed more help defensively, and adding two potential defensive players, like all defensive players, and Walker Kessler and JJJ and Vince Williams on off the bench is definitely going to help them.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of this move it is for next year, like we said for the Pacers move. They're not going to be competing for they're not going to be competing for the playoffs this year, or maybe if they get lucky and things work out, they compete for the play-in. But even then, where now they're one of the worst teams in the NBA, I think they're in a weird spot because we're going to talk a bit. Let's talk a bit about this upcoming NBA draft, which might seem like a weird transition. There's a very, very clear top three, and after that top three, there's a drop off. The Jazz are a bit outside that top three. So when you're listen, you could get lucky in the lottery, and I do think, by the way, if the Jazz do get lucky in the lottery and get in the top three, they're going to be an extremely dangerous team and set themselves up in a way that can really set them up for the next 5-7 years.
That's
How
why I hate this.
but even if they now don't get lucky in the lottery, they put them in a place where it's like, okay, we have to start winning at some point, and that some point is next year because we have Laurie Markkinen, we have Jaren Jackson Jr., we have Walker Kessler. I think Kessler was injured last time I saw him. I don't keep that much. I don't keep that much tabs on the Jazz normally as a Knicks fan. They're not really in my stratosphere, but the idea of now with Keontae George's ascension, you have 4 of the 5 slots set. Really, you have Keontae George, Laurie Marketing, JJJ, Walter Kessler, and that's a really solid 4 out of 5. Yeah. And now the question is, who is going to be that 5th player to round out the 5? And by the way, if you now have Ace Bailey possibly coming off the bench, possibly maybe he can ascend to be a starter. I think there's a lot going on that's very interesting with the Jazz, and at some point you do have to win. And I think JJJ also works really well for this specific head coach with Will Hardy, who is a very defensive focused, I think, defensive coach. So like, I like it a lot because I think the Jazz are in this in-betweens thing where it's like, maybe they wouldn't have done this if they were clearly going to get a top 3 draft pick, but because they're not, they might, but they might not. If they don't get in the top 3, I think there's a chance they could waste Keontae George's ascension and some of the pieces they might have to trade Laurie Marketing away. This way, you have more flexibility. And JJJ is a very solid player that is tough to get if you're Utah. Utah is not going to be able to sign these players in free agency normally because they're Utah. Like, that's just the sad truth of it. So when you have a chance to get JJJ, you sometimes have to just take it, even though it's going to cost you some draft picks, and even though now's not exactly the right time to try and start winning.
No, definitely. Absolutely. And it also makes their offense tough because JJJ can shoot some movement threes. You already have Laurie Marketing, who's crazy off-ball shooter. Keontae George shown some ability to shoot off movement threes. You probably have to work on it a little bit more, but that offense will be hard if they can especially if that fifth starter is some kind of movement shooter, guarding all those movement shooters, getting through screens, all the actions you can run, and then like I've seen the Spurs do this personally, and I know Will Hardy's from the Spurs tree. Like you have all these people, and we've seen the Warriors be able to, between Curry, Steph, and Durant, all be running off different screens, all confusing the defense, and then all the time there's going to be a back cut, or a slip cut or something available. It's going to, because everybody's paying attention to other things. It's just going to be a dynamic offense if they can get it rolling. Will Hardy's the guy that I really believe could do it.
The only question I have really when it comes to this move is like, JJJ has had a history of having trouble staying on the court
Yeah,
health wise. And so giving up 3 first round picks and building around that now we can start winning because we have this guy. Let's just hope he can stay on the court because he has been someone that have a lot of nagging injuries over his career.
true. And he
Okay.
fouls a lot too.
Yes, that is also true.
All right, let's talk about one of the bigger trades of the deadline. The Washington Wizards traded Chris Middleton, AJ Johnson, Malachi Branham, Marvin Bagley III, 2 first-round picks and 3 second-round picks for Anthony Davis, Jaden Hardy, D'Angelo Russell, and Dante Exum. What are they doing? Like, we talked about
Well,
this
who are
last
we
time,
talking
Josh.
about? Because I understand what the Wizards are doing. The Mavs, it's a little more
Yeah,
questionable.
the Mavs, I don't get what they have done at all. The Luka Doncic trade looks even worse in their from their perspective now that they've just traded the guy they traded for Luka away. Like, I don't understand what they're doing. I understand what the Wizards are doing a little bit better, but what are the Mavs doing?
So, like, I think the Mavs, Cooper Flag has been having a better work. I like Cooper Flag, and he's even having a better rookie season than I originally thought he would. I think there's two things they're doing. Number one, they're trying to distance themselves from the Luca trade as fast as possible and get rid of any remnants from it because it's just very rough. They also, I think, are probably worried about AD's health. And
Mhm.
at this point, even though you're selling low, it could be even lower, to be honest. So the idea is like, listen, we're going to completely make this Cooper Flags team. We're going to get some first round picks back. And again, what this kind of tells me is I'm not sure how big the Anthony Davis market was. I'm not sure how many teams were willing to sign on to a player that's constantly injured and
Yeah.
where it was so bad with the Mavs.
Yeah.
And the teams that would buy into Anthony Davis, other than the Wizard, are the teams that are like, we're going to make the push for the playoff. We're going to Anthony Davis is going to be the piece that will change it. But however, you can't buy into that piece if that piece that only works 20 is only on the court 20% of the time. When you have
Right.
that injury concern, you have this weird dynamic where you're both extremely valuable when you're on the court, but because you can't be relied on the court, the teams that would value that above anyone else will be like, well, I can't make this trade because if he's not on the court, I've lost everything.
Yeah.
So the Wizards actually make a lot of sense for him because now this is a move like the Jazz move, like the Zubac move for next year. Next year, the Wizards are probably going to have, knock on wood, because I have a friend who's a Wizards fan. I feel bad for him every year because every year they have like a top 3 chance to get a top 3 pick, and they
yeah.
somehow
Yeah.
with the fifth pick always. They maybe have
Yeah.
been the worst luck lottery wise I've ever seen. Where
Mhm.
even when they do have a top 3 pick, it's a year when they pick third and there's only 2 good prospects or something like that, or 2 top level prospects.
Yeah.
So, like, assuming, and this is a big assumption, assuming the Wizards get a top 3 pick, they get one of the 3 stars everyone is hyping up. They get Trey Young, and if you're going to pair Trey Young with someone, you want to pair him with a defensive monster like Anthony Davis. So, and they still have a lot of young players. Like, I really like the idea of an Anthony Davis Alex Sarr combo. Having those two players who are very good defensively have Trey Young's offensive output, and you still have young pieces like Trey Johnson and your next first round pick. The Wizards are extremely interesting going into the next season. However, that's with the huge caveat is you need Trey Young to be healthy, you need Trey Young to be make a step forward, and you need Anthony Davis to be healthy. But if you are able to pull hit on every single if the Trey Young moves hit and the Anthony Davis hit, I'm going to make a cross sport comparison here. Like the reason the
Oh, we lost
And
Josh.
that would be the end of that cross parent.
Before we get your thoughts, Greg, hopefully Josh will be back in a second. Um, there was this tweet from at Raptors Harris on Twitter. I
Mhm.
refuse to call that app X. That made me understand what the Wizards are doing a little bit better here. And the
Okay.
tweet reads: The Wizards GM Will Dawkins pulled off a masterclass in asset management. He turned Bradley Beal's awful contact into Chris Paul, immediately flipped Chris Paul for Jordan Poole, waited a season to let Poole get his value up. Welcome back, Josh.
Sorry.
Traded Poole to the Pelicans for CJ McCollum's expiring contract. Traded Kyle Kuzma at max value to the Bucks for Chris Middleton's soon to be expiring contract. Used McCollum's contract to buy. Whoop, Josh's gone again. Used
Mm.
McCollum's contract to buy low on Trae Young. Used Middleton's contract to buy low on Anthony Davis, all while drafting Alex Sarr, Keontae George, and Trey Johnson while making these moves. This is a masterclass in NBA contract management and shows the value of expiring contracts. I hadn't thought of it quite like that,
Yeah.
but yeah. Jay saying you were spitting hot fire and your mic couldn't take it.
What can you do? It is what it is. But I don't know when I cut out. But Delia was bringing up that tweet that she sent in our group chat, and I think that's a great a great showcasing of what the Wizards' plan was for sure.
Greg, what do you think?
I don't. I like it for both teams. Honestly, I don't really mind it for both teams. Like I said, it's buy low asset management by the Wizards, pairing a defensive big, having your front court of Anthony Davis and Sarr is a great defensive court with someone like Trey Young that you're gonna have to cover for. You have the wings. Sometimes the CBA makes you want to go faster than you really want to, and so you've got to like analyze like, hey, I liked what I have. I want to see these guys grow, and the next step is getting more wins. I don't really think there's a big loss. Like, okay, like if they don't work out, we can find a market for Trey Young or just let him go. Same thing with Anthony Davis. We could flip that down the road and create more assets for us long term. And we're still getting the young guys, experience and more winning because they do have a solid core in Trey Johnson, Keyshawn George, Sar. Those are the guys, and I really believe. I want to believe in Bilal Coulibaly, but he seems to be very injury prone. His offensive game hasn't come around. Will Wiley is the guy to watch out for them. But for them, a 6'10" wing, very, very, very dynamic offensively right now. He just needs to grow into his body, but he has a lot of offensive footwork and counters to his game that's very impressive for a rookie. So that I understand that point, and for the Dallas, you just got to capitalize on Anthony Davis. What his trade value was like. You got some first rounders to help build around Cooper Flag. Marvin Bagley's had a good season. He can possibly be a backup big for you if you have to get off Gafford. We don't know what's going to happen with Lively. If you might need a body out there, and Bagley's had a good season. AJ Johnson is a prospect that I've liked, that I've seen athletic flashes from, but he's extremely raw as a player. And you're going to need a future guard in the future, so you just take a shot on whatever prospect like that. So all in all, you try to do as best you can for whatever the plan was like get a prospect, get picks, and
Yeah,
and
but
whatever
even
pieces
then,
you get.
hopefully I'm back for good. But
Yeah,
even then, the two picks they got, we should also mention, they got Oklahoma City's pick this year, and they
yeah,
got a top 20 protected Golden State pick in 2030. Like those are
That's true.
not great picks.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like they got two first round picks in theory, like two first round picks, but like it's really painful to see what the Luka traded ended up being for the Mavs and how in every way it blew up in their face.
Yeah, I don't. I love Luca as a player. I don't know if you could ever build a championship team around him. I think it's very difficult. I think he's going to have to change his game and be more of a two-way, not necessarily two-way player, but just more active defensively. And he's going to have to be able to play with three other great players. I think he can play with two for sure. I mean, another great player for sure. So, getting Cooper Flag is just like that. If I was building an NBA team, I would want to start with a two-way big wing or a dominating big. Those are the two things throughout history has shown me that those are what win championships.
I
Um,
guess like the my only small counter to that is first off the Cooper Flag thing.
yeah,
They're
it's totally
extremely
different.
lucky about that
Yeah,
because that wasn't a part of the Luca trade at all.
yeah,
Like, they just found a pot of gold.
yeah,
And by the way, it would have been awesome to have Cooper Flag and Luca on the same
yeah,
team. That would have probably been good. Number one, but number two, and this is the thing is like maybe Luca isn't a player you can build a title team around.
Mm.
We don't have much of those in the league, really.
Yeah,
He's a player that we've proven you
yeah,
can bring to the finals.
yeah,
And there's not a lot of players like that in the league either. It's
yeah,
like maybe he's not the next step of like an SGA, a LeBron, a Jokic, where it's like he can bring his team to the to the end goal, and you can win a title off him being the best player. But there's very few you can name on one hand the players in the league right now. We know for sure is that,
yeah,
and you gave up a player that was able to bring a very good but flawed Mavs team to the finals against the Boston Celtics, and that run was he had so many defining moments. So
yeah.
it's very tough for Mavs fans to swallow. But now that the last major piece of that trade has been flipped, maybe you can move forward a little with the Cooper Flag version of it.
Yeah, I would feel a lot better if Derek Lively was. I think he might be cooked. Like, it's unfortunately, we'll see how he bounces back. I don't like big men with feet injury or back injuries. That kind of scares me a lot. But if you told me I had Cooper Flag, Max Christie, and Derek Lively going forward, and possibly draft picks or something to move, I would feel pretty good. Like, you would probably be a star guard and a star forward away from being back up in the top echelon. So we'll see what happens. It's all about how GMs move, getting lucky in the draft. That's a lot of it too, is being able to get lucky in the draft and find the talent where it goes.
Jay in the chat saying Lakers need to surround Luca with athletic wings. We have the shooters, just need a better big, and for LeBron to go elsewhere next season.
Yeah, they got to they got to remake. It's Luca so great that he can do things, but like, yeah, they need a better big because Aiden cannot guard the rim. They need more athletic wings around Luca. Defensive point of attack defender. Smart's kind of old. The Austin Reeves fit, I don't know if that's gonna fit, to be honest with you, because he's a very cone on defense himself. That's gonna be an interesting plot for me long term. Is those two guys, can they make it fit with three other great defenders around them? But the Lakers have a lot of things to do, and I don't believe in the Lakers' ability to build rosters, to be honest with you. So that's something I never believe in. So
I will say, like, and this is a bit of a hot take, I kind of am slowly buying into the Lakers just this season.
okay,
I think I'm not someone who I think LeBron is going to turn into a different player by the end of the season. I do kind of think he's kind of saving a lot of his energy as he's around 40 to 41 years old. He's not going to be able to be at his best for an entire season. I'm curious to see how they perform in the playoffs. I'm not saying that I think they'll go on a major run, but I will probably be the last person on the bandwagon of like I'm just going to trust Luca and LeBron. But I think they do have the shooters. I think they do have the offense, and I do think that like if some of the pieces they got, like one of the trades they made is they got Luke Kennard, which I think is a sneaky underrated move. I think he will help with the
yeah,
spacing or whatever. The
yeah,
thing that holds me back is the Austin Reeves fit. I do agree. I don't think Austin Reeves is a great fit next to Luca. I'm not sure where Reeves' ceiling is overall, if he's a player you can build around, but like him and Luca, I'm not sure if the offensive output they have is worth the defensive liabilities of having both of them.
yeah.
Yeah. Jay saying we can develop players, but keeping them and letting them go has been an annoying thorn in my side.
Yeah, the big
You
one they have to
mentioned
develop is Adil Thiero. That they have to develop that wing. That's a very important wing that they need to develop.
okay. You mentioned the Kennard trade. He came to the Lakers from the Hawks. Gabe Vincent and a second round pick went the other way. The Hawks made another interesting trade. Kristaps Porzingis going to the Lakers for Jonathan Kuminga and a couple other pieces. How we feel about that? I mean, the Warriors. Did I say the Lakers? I meant the
Yeah,
Warriors.
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't love it. I'll be honest. Just because if you're going to trade Trey Young for that package, I thought they were going to move more all in. If you're going to go the Kaminga and draft pick route, that's fine. But why did you trade? I guess it just showed what Trey Young's value was at that moment. But like, my guess is the Hawks are going to be a real contender for Giannis this offseason. And a lot of what they're doing right now is trying to build the pieces to be able to make the trade for Giannis and pair him with Jalen Johnson. What is your take on this, Greg?
I'm surprised they got anything for Porzingis. To really, I think that between his sickness and like his body overall, he might be cooked. So the Golden State has to take a chance. They need a big. They can shoot, spread the floor. I understand, like,
I
we
was going
saw.
to say I was surprised they got anything from Kaminga. So I guess that
Yeah,
does.
I mean that's true. I think if you're the Hawks, you're just taking shots on. You just need a wing, like you need a wing to pair with Jalen Johnson, and Kaminga is still young. Maybe you buy into he was in a bad situation, bad development plan for him. He's still young, has upside. So if you hit on that, then that's one less thing you have to worry about drafting or moving forward. So we'll
Yeah,
Yeah.
find out.
the whole trade was Porzingis to the Warriors for Kaminga and Buddy Hield.
Oh yeah, you get a shooter off the bench for if you're the Hawks.
Mm. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, I think the Warriors are in the toughest place. Like I think weirdly the Warriors GM, if I were to be any GM in the league, I think the Warriors would be one of the last picks. And I know that sounds crazy because you have Steph Curry, but you have this roster that is so in between, and you can't really tank because you have Steph Curry, and you can't really let go of Steph Curry because he's Steph Curry, and he probably was going to retire a Warrior, and he's the most beloved player in that franchise history. It reminds me almost of the Lakers at the end with Kobe. Is like you
Yeah,
can't. It's tough to go completely young, but you also can't completely go in on winning. You just don't have the assets at the moment. It's very tough to in the NBA to consistently be a contending team for years and years and years and years, especially of the same franchise. So like they're at the point where the players have gotten a little older. I'm not sure what the path forward is for the Warriors. I it's just really you have to rely so much on Steph, and you just don't have the assets to give him the help at this point.
Yeah, as Jay's saying, the Warriors lineup isn't scaring anyone.
yeah, they whiffed on their. They try to do two timelines. They try to develop players, for the present that could help Steph Curry and get off some of the players, and then also be the future of the team. And they just whiffed on all that, and they're just scrambling to put whatever talent. They forgot their identity. To be honest with you, like they were always like a run and gun 3-point shooting team, and they just never replaced the Klay Thompson. Like that's a big part of like, and you can't really replace Klay Thompson, but you have to, like, if you're gonna play small, you better be able to shoot. And it just seems like they've kind of like just been in a no man's land with their identity too, as a team. So they're a really bad shape. To be honest with you.
Absolutely. I think it all comes back. And by the way, they won one title within this run, which is like amazing. Like is one of Steph Curry's greatest accomplishments, in my opinion. The fact that he was able to win a
Yeah,
title in the last couple of years with that run and how good he was. I think what it comes down to is like the James Wiseman pick was a rough miss,
yeah,
especially when you saw Anthony Edwards go one and LaMelo Ball go three. And I'm not sure LaMelo Ball would have been a great fit, but to completely whiff on the number two pick with James Wiseman, whiff on Kaminga, Moody's been up and down. And they've been, I think, hoping that Pazinski has been would be like take a step forward, and he hasn't taken the step forward they need to win now.
yeah,
So it's very difficult. But in the end, this is a normal ride that most franchises go through. It's like you only have a window opportunity, and their window closed, but they
yeah,
still have Steph Curry, so they can't really go through the things that normally you would go through if a window closes like that. You can't try and go young and trade. It's like Steph Curry's a special type of superstar, where it's like I don't think the Warriors can afford to trade Steph Curry,
yeah.
even if it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, we see teams being able to, like you have to do kind of like with I know there's a Nuggets fan. You have to be able to go from KCP to Christian Braun. You have to be able to go if just in case Aaron Gordon or Peyton Watson, if that ever needed to happen because of money wise, you need to be able to change. First of all, you had what's my man Jeremy Grant. He was there before Aaron Gordon. You have to be able to
Mhm.
either draft correctly or find trades that bring in the next level of players to get you keep going. Like it just takes. There's only so many teams have been able to do it. Like I think Boston's done a good job recently of doing it. The Spurs of history wise have done it. Where they've been able to roll out. Go from different generations, different iterations of the team. But it's so hard to do because you have to really be a good development team. You got to be a really good scouting team, and you got to be a really good have really good infrastructure, brain trust to pick to
And
keep
even
it all
then,
up. Yeah,
And I was going to say, even then, the Boston thing didn't even work until they were able to trade for Drew Holiday and Kristaps
Yeah,
Porzingis for that one
yeah.
season.
Yeah.
Like,
Jay
I'm just
with a
saying
question. He's trying to figure out how trading Trace Jackson Davis to the Raptors helps the Warriors. They got a second round pick back.
just okay, Josh.
I don't know. I was going to say, like, I think maybe what they're trying to do is, like, maybe the minutes that he was getting weren't effective enough, so it's addition by subtraction a little there. I think they also were realizing they might have not been able to keep him long term, so may as well get some value. But I think the Warriors are a mess. I don't know what they would do. I think it might have even been, I don't know the specifics, but it could have even been a money thing where they're paying a lot of money and they try to get a little bit cheaper because they know they're not winning anything this year.
Yeah, I just think they're just better. They better probably better suited. Like maybe Porzingis will solidify that starting unit. We can Draymond at the center. Like we'll be able to figure it out. You know, like long term, he's just not part of. We don't see a future with him on our team. And then the Raptors are like, well, he had a good season one time, and he looks promising at times.
He's still
Maybe,
young.
yeah, he's still young. We'll, he does what we want to do on offense as far as facilitate the offense, be able to like run dribble handoffs at the high post and stuff like that. So he'll fit into what we're trying to do, and we'll see. Because at some point, you got to take chances on guys that didn't work out in different situations, and maybe just for whatever reason they click with you, or they just develop right away on whatever you in your program. Like sometimes that works
Absolutely.
out.
And if you're the Raptors, you're also thinking like this might be our chance. Let's make sure if maybe Podol gets injured or if there's an injury on the season that we just have enough depth where we have people who can fill in for a couple minutes or whatever. It's because
Yeah.
we really like this team. So, and that's why I think part of the reason was Chris Paul. Let's bring in some people who we think might help the locker room, might not get a lot of minutes, but like maybe if we have an injury or two, we're not relying on someone who has shown nothing before, is a complete unknown. This is someone who will at least be serviceable until maybe someone comes back from health, maybe for one playoff game, just for a moment if we need it. And if nothing happens, it's a second round pick. Who cares?
Yeah.
All right. Chicago Bulls made a number of moves. You want to talk
Ooh.
about those, Josh?
Yeah, there was one point where they had like a million guards on the roster. Or I don't know what the Kings are doing. I don't know what the Bulls are doing either. Like they're not. I don't know what I would do if I were the Bulls. But the one I'll flip it even. The one move that caught my eye and I think will be the most impactful is trading AO, and I always had trouble saying his last name. Adelia, can you help me out?
Desunmu, I
Okay,
think.
to Desamu, AO Desamu to the Timberwolves, I think is a very interesting one because they were able to get Rob Dillingham back. Dillingham has been a huge bust for the Timberwolves, and at this point, I think they're just trying to get respectable point guard play, and they have the idea that like, okay, he's pretty solid. Desumu is pretty solid. If we can pair him with Anthony Edwards with what we have already, we're already in the 4 or the 5 seed. We've been in the conference championship the past 2 years in a row. If we get that point guard play from Desumu and he's able to thrive in a much better situation than the Bulls, then that might be the step we need. So that's the most interesting out of all the moves they made. But they just made a bunch of moves, and I'll be honest, I don't really understand any of them or what they're doing. But then again, if I were the Bulls, I'm not sure what I would do.
Yeah, the Bulls are
Greg,
just
what
a
about
team
you?
that will not refuse to management will refuse to let them tank. There's just a team that's always going to be trying to thread the needle between like playing team, trying to figure out how they can get up into the upper echelon through trades. They kind of are just betting on young talent at this point. They got Giddy, they got Montes Bucelas, who's the two guys that I think they're probably going to bank on long term. So they just got to fill in like the next players. So they're kind of in no man's land. They've always been in no man's land because they just don't have over. I mean, to be fair with them, they did construct a decent team. It just it just fell apart and due to injuries and stuff like that. And so now they have to start all over again and have to pivot. And most likely, the history shows that they won't do it correctly. So
Or they'll do it correctly enough to be the 7th seed and
yeah,
play,
yeah,
and then
just
have
stay
a
there for.
gentleman's like the team they remind me of in the NFL. And it's funny, show gets in here is the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're
Oh,
always around 9 and 8. might be the 4 seed in the playoffs if you're lucky, but loses almost every time in the first round for the past like couple of years. I mean, but now it seems like they are maybe deciding maybe now we can sell off some of the pieces like Kobe White, White Ao Dosumu. Also, we haven't talked about Vucevic going to the Celtics, which could also be
Yeah.
a huge addition for the Celtics. So like they are starting to get rid of the pieces, but they waited too long to get rid of Kobe White. They waited too long to get rid of Ayu Dosunmu. They waited too long to get rid of Vucevic, and because of that, they did not get the draft capital back that could really have them have a successful tank or have a successful rebuild because they waited this long to pull the trigger on that.
Yeah. They made so many moves. I've been like trying to find all of them in this trade tracker, and like they traded and got somebody, and then they traded that somebody and other somebodies for other some like what were they doing? I'm so confused. Jay with another comment says Kobe White doesn't have to put the team on his back anymore. Happy about that, but giving him to the Red Hot Hornets was definitely a mistake. How we feel about that?
Yeah, it's sad to see him go, man. I really liked Kobe White. It just I don't know necessarily the fit with him and Giddy are kind of a little off, even though he's more of a shooting guard than he is a point guard, basically more of a combo. Um, but yeah, going to the Hornets is interesting. Like, I guess they're looking for a six man. I don't think he really starts on the Hornets. I don't know if he's there long term, but it's because it's Lamelo, Con, Brandon Miller, and then I guess you could go small, but like, or it's usually Miles Bridges at the four. I think you have to upgrade Miles Bridges long term, but I don't know how Kobe White fits there long term, but like they're so dynamic offensively and like three shooting. Their big thing is going to be shooting threes. That guy, the coach, is from the Boston Celtics, who believe just shoot as many threes as possible. That team has a chance to be the next Warriors if they can get the next that four piece. If they can get a dynamic four, they can shoot really like lights out. That could be the most dangerous team in the NBA. So, and of course, everybody has to stay healthy and progress and stuff like that. But that could be a very very dangerous team if when it comes all together.
I mean, the question with them is how high do you view LaMelo Ball, and
Yeah.
high do you think Knupple's future is? Is like, do you think Knupple's just going to be a solid good player, or do you think that Knuple is actually a build around piece that can be like a top 15 player in the NBA? I think Knupple's shown as much promise as you like. He literally maybe the best rookie season he could have possibly have. He
Yeah.
looks like he's going to be in the league for 10 to 15 years. He looks like he's going to be awesome. The question is, I just don't know if he's a build around piece. I'm very interested and hope they get into the play in and maybe be the 8 or 7 seed. I think that it would be nice for them to get some playoff experience. I'm just curious to see which of these players they say are the building blocks. Is it Brandon Miller? Is it Knuple? Is it Ball? Which of those players are you like? This is going to be the best player that we can build around in a title team or a team that can take us to the NBA Finals.
Yeah. Jared McCain to the Thunder.
Whew. Most shocking, one of the more shocking ones. I was like, was never going to expect this one. If you told me I had to guess a trade, I was never going to guess this one.
I mean, it's just like the Thunder, like the comparison is always to the Howie Roseman Eagles, and I make a lot of cross sports comparison because I'm a big NFL fan. But it's just like sometimes the Eagles will make a move and trade for someone. I'll be like, yeah, that makes sense. Like I remember the AJ Brown when they traded AJ Brown for like the 14th pick in the NBA draft. I'm like, Eagles pick up a good player. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, that makes sense. Or they trade up to get Jalen Jalen the defensive tackle that I'm blanking his name. It's
Carter,
not Sweat.
Jalen
No,
Carter.
Jay Carter. That's it. Jalen Carter. For some reason, I was thinking Sweat, but I knew that was Josh Sweat. I was getting mixed up. But it's like, oh, Jalen Carter's falling in the draft. He's a really good football player, or he's shown he's dominant. Let's just pick him up. It's like that's what the Thunder does at this point. It's like, oh, McCain is in a situation where he is not given a lot of minutes, but he's shown a lot of promise. Why don't we just pick him up? Why not? And it just works out the majority of the time. And this will probably work out for the Thunder as well.
Yeah, they gave up a 2026 first round pick, which is Houston's, a 2027 second round pick, and then two 2028 second round picks for Jared McCain.
Yeah.
That's not giving up much for him.
No, they needed shooting. They needed scoring. I felt like playing them a couple of times. I feel like they have it defensively. I just don't think they have enough offense at times. It really stalls out. It's really SGA reliant. So McCain showed a lot of promise his rookie year. I think at least, at the very least, like he could be what Patty Mills was for the Spurs. Just a guy that can come in, flame throw, lead your team in that second unit. And it just adds more punch with Aaron Wiggins. And now I don't know what's going to happen with Isaiah Joe long term, but now you've got like really good, solid bench pieces coming off that bench a little bit solider. So I mean, it's a buy low risk. I mean, I don't think you're going to get a better prospect. In if Knowing Presti, he's already scouted like 10 years ahead of time, so he already knows like I can't get a better prospect with this pick or whatever than Jarrett McCain. And I love Jarrett McCain. They love Jarrett McCain. So they're like, I'm gonna go ahead and just, if it busts out, it busts out. But I'm gonna roll a dice on him. And Duke pedigree, great kid. It's kind of the Thunder way. So I think he can fit a role in for the Thunder team.
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's see what else we got to talk about here. Cam Thomas got released.
Yeah, this one was surprising to me because I thought he had more value, I guess, to the Nets. That if he was on the outskirts, he would have maybe been traded. But I'm very interested to see how he does in a better situation because the Nets, when he was on the Nets, has been one of the worst situations in the NBA. And a lot of people criticize his shot selection, but you're on the Nets. Like, you're not going to get a lot of great shot selection. And there are a lot of times where the shot selection he was criticized for is like someone passed him the ball with 5 seconds on the shot clock and he had to make something work out of nothing. So, like, I'm very curious if those bad habits continue in a better situation or if a team buys low on him and gets the best out of him. Greg, off the top of your head, what do you think is like the best Cam Thomas destination if you were to dream pick one?
Yeah, he's such a dynamic scorer, but he doesn't really bring anything else, and that's kind of the issue. But it is shocking that it just seems like the league and the Nets were just out on him. Like they're just like, I don't know if it's like a personality thing or like I don't know what it is, but they're just like it just seemed like, all right, no, this guy is just we're just gonna let him go. So who needs bench scoring? That'd be nice. I mean, the Bucks. I mean, you just got to roll the dice at that if you're the Bucks. Anything. The Magic would be kind of fun.
It would.
Mm.
I was also maybe even thinking, I don't know if the Pistons could do this, and I don't know if the Pistons want to throw something into that locker room that looks awesome, and they're very good defensively. But like, the Pistons are one of the best defensive teams in the league. If they can have
Yeah.
someone come off the bench and put that type of scoring, I think that would be really interesting. Um, but and then I mean, the Warriors, you may as well just take a a dice
Yeah.
roll. The
Like,
Warriors are just in a really rough situation.
need something. Anything will work.
Exactly. It's like if Thomas is able to score and like at least show some promise, at least you have an asset. Even if it doesn't work out in the playoffs, you can move on from it. But I mean, it's rough. It's going to be interesting to see if he lands in a better situation or if it's like. I mean, another interesting one actually would be the Mavericks. I would be curious to
Yeah.
see him there as well.
Yeah. Next to Christie, Cooper, Flag, whoever's going to be at the four, whether it be PJ Washington, whoever they're going to put there, short term and long term. But yeah, like his career is going to be his whole arc is like the most interesting to me. One of the like, just like so such a dynamic scorer. You can see the talent offensively, through him, and it's just like doesn't really give you anything defensively. Maybe like a little bit of a aloof person, but like he can score, and it's just like is there's no more roles for those type of players anymore, like the Lou Wills of the world. There's just no more roles for bucket getters. It's now in the NBA. It's just about you have to be able to compete on defensively. You have to be able to play make. You have to do a bunch of other things. You just can't specifically just be a microwave scorer anymore. So
Well,
I'm
it's
I'm
funny.
I'm, I'm interested to see his long term.
I mean, that's the funny thing about the NBA this day is like you can't be one dimensional like that. Like
Yeah,
you can't be good defensively, but nothing on offense. Like I don't
yeah,
think if you're so bad at offense that you can't shoot a three, you're a complete liability. Then on offense, you're playing 5 on 4. You're playing 4 on 5 basically, and it's
yeah,
the same way the other way. And because the NBA has gotten so good, it's like anybody, if you're a defensive liability, will cook you. they are so good at finding the matchups of like, oh, you're a defensive liability, we're going to attack you over and over and over again. And if you're an offensive liability, then we are not going to care at all. It's like there were these players in the NBA that were so good at one thing, whether it was they were only a 3-point shooter, they were only an offensive specialist, they were only a defensive specialist, and we don't see like guys like that anymore succeed in the NBA because if you're a weakness in any way, the NBA has so much depth in the league, so much talent, but like they will be exploited
Yeah.
if you have a defined weakness like that.
Yeah.
All right, that's all the major trades we wanted to hit. Does anybody have another trade they want to bring up?
Off the top of my head, I think we got everything.
Yeah.
Do you want to quickly talk about the Paul George 25 game suspension, Greg?
Yeah, you can go ahead and mention it. I was like, I just saw it flash my timeline. I was like, it's Paul George at this point, you know.
I think it's interesting because it's like I think Paul George is an older player. I you would think he wouldn't fall for that type of like thing where it's like, oh, okay, you took the wrong medicine or whatever. It's like you're an NBA pro. You've been in the league for a while. This isn't the type of hiccup that you normally would have, like a player of that caliber would have. But it might also help the Sixers in a way. Like I think the Sixers have a lot of interesting depth. I think they're a very interesting team that nobody's talking about. They're right now the sixth seed in the East, but they have Joel Embiid playing sneakily well. Maxey has taken the next step and has been absolutely awesome for the 76ers. And then you have a lot of depth and interesting young talent like VJ Edgecombe. If Paul George comes back from this 25 game suspension, health like purely healthy, it's like, oh, I got a 25 game vacation and I can put my best foot forward, not only for the end of the season, but for the playoffs. You have Joel Embiid somewhat healthy and not having to be the center of this team. I mean, I don't mean center as position, but like the person who has to carry this team, and you're able to hand the reins off the Maxi. And I think they've done that because Maxi has, I think, I don't remember the exact stat, but I think Maxi is like leads the league in minutes and stuff like that. They've given everything to Maxi, and Maxi has looked absolutely awesome. If Maxi can do that in the playoffs, and Embiid can be the 1B to Maxi's 1A, you get a fresh Paul George, and then you have the depth of Edgecombe, Oubre, Kelly Oubre, and they have a lot of other interesting pieces like Quentin Grimes. I think this is a team that can go on a surprise playoff run the same way the Pacers did last year.
No, for sure. Uh, Real quick, let me throw out Vid Krejci to the Portland Trailblazers. That's my interesting one. The Portland really values size, playmaking, and they desperately needed shooting. I think Vid Krejci off the bench is at least give them at least some floor spacing because they have a bunch of guys that can defend really well at a high level. Just getting some floor spacing in there is going to definitely start opening up some stuff for them and getting healthy.
Do we want to talk about how Giannis didn't get traded?
Ooh.
I think so. I actually did not expect him to be traded because I think that I think it would be tough to get a deal that would get the maximum value for Giannis. And also, this is the problem with Giannis in a way. He's not causing a big enough stink to have the Bucks really force a trade. Is like
Mm-hmm.
he's too nice in a way. It's like he's not going to pull a James Harden where
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
he's going to be so extremely toxic to the team
He's not
culture
going to
that
force his way out.
Yeah.
even when he should probably. But I think that it will happen this offseason. And I think a lot of teams this trade deadline we're doing smaller moves to possibly, and I think the Hawks is the clear example, doing smaller moves to build a huge trade package for Milwaukee to trade to trade for Giannis, and it'll be very interesting to see what happens. I know a lot of Knicks fans, and I'm a Knicks fan, wanted to see a Cat for Giannis trade. That wasn't going to happen, in my opinion, because Cat has value is nowhere close to Giannis, and I don't think we have anything that the Bucks will give. And I'm very interested, honestly. I know this is I've spent this whole I did a whole thing about you can't have a weakness and succeed in the NBA, and the Knicks have a huge weakness with Brunson and Cat on defense, having those two defensive liabilities on the court at the same time and having to rely on them. That being said, I think the offensive output of the Knicks at their best can make the NBA Finals and can win the NBA Finals, and I am very interested to see the Knicks in the playoffs when Halliburton is not in their way, when this Pacers team will be nowhere to be seen. And And if you're talking about teams in the East playoffs that have the most experience, it's Boston and it's the Knicks. And the most
Yeah.
success, it's Boston and the Knicks. So like I'm very interested to see the Knicks go on this run with Karl Anthony Towns, and if it doesn't work out, I'm sure they will have to do everything in their power to build a Giannis package. And I think the story of this NBA offseason will probably be the Giannis. Where is he going? Because I think he will be moved this offseason. I did not expect it this trade deadline.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I always like big trades, and I would love to see him shake up the league. Hopefully, he wouldn't come to the West. He just stayed in the East, but it would have been. I love like when big altering landscape trades. So it'll happen. It's probably going to happen because I just don't see them how the Bucks get out where they're at. I'm surprised you didn't mention Grand Theft Auto to New York. Our guy.
You see, this is the issue. I'm not a gamer. I'm not so like I know Grand Theft Auto is a big thing. I'm not 100% sure like any news or development for that.
No, I'm saying like the
But
Jose Alvarado. He's a point guard from the Pelicans.
well, you meant Jose Alvarado.
Yeah,
Yes, I think he's solid. I
that's his
think
nickname, Grand Theft Auto.
I think he's a good guy to have in the locker room. I think he can produce some good minutes and help defensively for the Knicks. I don't think it'll be that huge of a difference, and I do worry that I think our offense is kind of clicking, and I'm not sure how much offensively he's going to be able to help us.
Uh-huh.
But even then, he's a good guy to have in the locker room. But I just don't think he's going to be that. If I'm being completely honest, I don't think he's going to be that much of a difference maker. We already have Kolek playing really, really well this season. We have Jordan Clarkson. We have Landry Shamet. Those are already. I mean, we're playing Shamet more like a 3, to be honest. But like those are already like guards. So I don't even know the rotation that he's going to get in, because you're going to have to maybe give Kolek less minutes, which is okay, I guess, or like move Clarkson more as a 2-3 versus a 1. So it's solid, but I just don't know how he fits into the rotation at the moment.
Gonna be a Knicks fan favorite, guarantee it. Lock it down.
Absolutely, you just got to get the minutes for it. Is
Yep.
is my take? Is I don't know where the minutes come for him, because he's got a lot of competition coming off the bench specifically for his size in that role.
All right. Well, we're over an hour, so that'll do it for the show today. I have nothing really to contribute. The Nuggets just traded Hunter Tyson for a second round pick, and that was it. And I don't really care. So, Greg, tell us about your channel, Spurs versus Everybody, and where people can find it.
Even though the Spurs didn't do anything in the trade line, they're second in the West, trying to catch up on the first place Thunder team who's injured. So they may be able to get the first overall standing here in a little bit. But yeah, Spurs versus Everybody on YouTube, all social media, like, comment, subscribe. We do post game shows. Probably do watch alongs eventually if we can figure that out. But yeah, just take a look at us if you're a Spurs fan or want to talk hoops.
There is links in the description of this episode for the channel. So go over there, subscribe, check it out, support Greg. Thank you very much for joining us today, Greg. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Josh, where can people find you?
You can find me here on Good Friends Better Rivals. They can find me on the Nostalgia Crackdown, which will be coming up at the end of the month. We got some new fun stuff for Schmodown wise, and we do have a nice announcement that I'm excited for our Schmodown content. But supporting me is just supporting LGR. So anyways, you support LGR is supporting me, and also support Greg. Greg was absolutely awesome. So go support Spurs versus everyone, please. Everybody. Yes.
Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you. Appreciate you so much with the kind words.
You can find the Schmodown content on our sister channel, The Post Credits. You can get there by going to thepostcredits.com. You can get to our channel easily by going to goodfriendsbetterrivals.com. Please subscribe to both channels. We would really appreciate it. We're nearing 1,100 on the Post Credits. We're getting closer to 325 here on Good Friends Better Rivals. Really want to hit it's baby steps, little milestones, and then you get there. So we're building. We're getting there. We're having a Super Bowl watch along tomorrow on this channel. So check that out. We'll be on the air starting at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. Brandy will be joining us for the Super Bowl watch along. I believe Greg's joining us for the Super Bowl watch along too. Brandy, of course, the only person on the crew who has a rooting interest in this game because she's a Patriots fan. We lost Josh again, but that's
Mm.
okay because our show is over. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Like I said, Shug should hopefully be back next month. And until then, we are out of here. Bye.
Go Spurs, go.